Parker Schnabel just cashed in on a massive $700,000 jackpot. The hunt for gold is never easy. But when the payoff looks like this, who's complaining? Parker's journey to this massive haul was hard to say the least, and there was no room for mistakes. But just as the team faced one of their biggest challenges yet, which was moving the massive 45-ton wash plant, Schnabel, they noticed one key member was missing. Tyson was a critical part of the operation and was nowhere to be found. He was away on a dog emergency, and there was no denying that his absence left a gap in the team. Now, the responsibility fell on operator Damon Brown and mechanic Alec Kelly to take on the enormous task of moving Schnabel across the site. First, they had to pull the massive wash plant off its pad, then haul it 300 feet across the cut using the 750 excavator. It was a delicate operation. One wrong move could set them back for hours or even cause serious damage. For Damien, this was a career-defining moment. He had been working under Parker Schnabel for 3 seasons, but this was the first time he was in charge of moving a wash plant. The pressure was on and every muscle in his body felt it. Alec on the right-hand side along that bank. Yeah, you're just brushing up at a soft material. Alec, overseeing the process, kept a close watch to make sure everything went smoothly. The move wasn't just about using brute force. It needed skill, patience, and coordination. If anything went wrong, it could cause major delays. And with Tyson missing, the responsibility was even greater. As the massive wash plant, Schnabel inched forward. Alec checked both sides, making sure it wasn't getting caught on anything. Damon stayed completely focused, calling out for confirmation on the left and right. Alec gave him the all clear, saying that it was brushing against some soft material, but nothing that would cause problems. That alone was a relief. Slowly but surely, they got the plant down the hill without any unexpected slides. But even though this part was done, they weren't in the clear yet. The hardest part of the job was still ahead. Now came the real challenge. Pulling Schnabel up a steep 30 degrees incline to reach the top of a 40 feet high pad. This was going to be brutal. The sheer weight of the plant meant it could easily start slipping, and if they got stuck halfway, it would turn into a complete disaster. Damien knew exactly what they were up against. The incline was steep. The ground was unstable and one wrong move could derail the entire operation. Of course, Alec didn't sugarcoat the situation either. They only had one chance to get this right. We got the wash plant down the hill and it didn't come sliding me, which is a massive bonus. He went up to the top to guide the move, making sure everything stayed in position. The crew understood that there was no room for mistakes. If they failed to get the wash plant up there, it would not only cost them valuable time, but could also put Parker's entire gold haul at risk. With the amount of gold they were pulling from this site, every second counted. With no time to waste, the team braced themselves for the most dangerous part of the move. Damien adjusted the excavator's hydraulics, carefully trying to keep everything stable. But just as they started pulling, things took a sudden turn for the worse. The massive 45-ton wash plant began sliding fast. The steep incline made everything dangerously unstable and the heavy equipment struggled to maintain control. Tension filled the air as the crew tried to stop the plant from slipping out of control. The incline was too sharp. The tracks were losing grip and everything about the situation was nerve-wracking. Damien tightened his seat belt, gripping the controls with white-knuckled focus. Every muscle in his arms tensed as he fought to keep the wash plant steady. At one point, someone in the crew tried to lighten the mood with a joke about how Tyson would react if he saw what was happening. The answer was obvious. He wouldn't be happy. But there was no time for laughter now. The wash plant was still not in position, and if they didn't get it up the hill, Parker's $700,000 gold haul could be in serious danger. With Tyson absent, it was up to Damien, Alec, and the rest of the team to make sure El Lucifer made it to the top without disaster striking. The plan was to drag the wash plant 300 feet across the cut using a massive 750 excavator. It was a risky move, and every inch of progress had to be carefully controlled. Damien pushed the excavator to its limits, applying just the right amount of power to keep the wash plant moving forward. Alec remained focused, watching for any signs of trouble and making sure the plant stayed on track. Leave your bucket behind and just walk away from it. You think Tyson cry if he seen this? The sheer weight of Sloofer made the job even more challenging. The wash plant had to be guided across the uneven terrain without getting stuck or causing damage to any of the machinery. Every second felt like an eternity as the team worked to keep everything under control. The fact that they had managed to get Sloofer down the hill without any major slides was already a small victory. It had taken 6 exhausting hours, but Sloofer was now in its final position. The biggest obstacle had been overcome. With the wash plant securely in place, the next phase of work could begin. The crew quickly moved on to setting up the rest of the operation. They installed the stacker, the feeder, the water pump, and the water lines, ensuring that everything was connected and ready to go. Each piece of equipment had to be carefully positioned to guarantee smooth operation. Once everything was in place, it was time to fire up the system and get the gold mining process underway. Just as the final adjustments were being made, Tyson returned to the site. His absence had been felt, but now that he was back, the team was eager to hear what had happened. He explained that his dog Gist had suffered a serious injury requiring stitches and treatment for a torn tendon. It had been an unfortunate situation, but at least the worst was over. The crew was relieved to hear that. Tyson looked around at the progress that had been made in his absence. Sloofer was exactly where it needed to be, and the entire setup was nearly complete. The team had handled the job without him, proving just how capable they were. These guys have done really good without me. And you know, it's nice to know that everything's still going on here when I've got some personal issues to deal with. Despite the challenges, everything had come together successfully. With Tyson back on site, the crew was finally complete again, but there was still a long way to go before they could celebrate. The operation continued as the team carefully adjusted the equipment. The goal was to align the super stacker perfectly with the center of Sloofer's free wash. Precision was key, ensuring everything was set up correctly. With steady hands and careful maneuvering, the feeder was backed into position. Small adjustments were made, turning slightly to get the alignment just right. Finally, after a few more careful tweaks, it was in place. Now with everything lined up, the next step was to fire up the system and see what the new cut had in store. With a press of a button, the engines roared to life. Water surged through the system. Conveyor belts rumbled into motion. Dirt began tumbling through the wash plant. This was it, the moment of truth. Would all the work, all the planning, and all the risk finally pay off? With 2/3 of the season already behind them, Parker's team had their sights set on one thing, 5,000 ounces of gold. So far, they'd pulled 4,000 ounces. And with time running out, every cleanup mattered. In Australia Creek, the ground had been steady, bringing in around 130 ounces per week. But would this week hold more? The crew gathered around as the scale ticked up to 98.20. Not bad. But there was more. A collection of superfines melted down into a single gold disc, added another 5.650, bringing the total haul from Australia Creek to 103.850, worth a solid $270,000. A strong start. But the real test was still to come, the money pit. For the past 3 weeks, it had been the richest ground on site, pulling in an average of 480 ounces per week. This was where the big money was. The weigh-in began and stopped around 361.0. It was a little lower than previous weeks, but still a massive haul worth over $720,000. Gold mining is never predictable. Some weeks are bigger than others. But one thing was certain. Parker's crew was still on track to hit their 5,000-ounce goal. With 103 ounces from Australia Creek and 361 ounces from the money pit, Parker's weekly total came in at 465 ounces of gold. Nearly $500,000 in a single week. Not bad, don't you think? Want to see more gold? Subscribe now and join the hunt for lost treasures, hidden riches, and legendary gold discoveries.